Welcome to the Human Handbook Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adam Tice. We're talking about everything you need to know, but nobody's telling you about how to optimize your health, cultivate happiness, and biohack your way to peak performance. I've been in the clinic 12 years, and I'm stepping out of the clinic into the pod studio, bringing all the clinical pearls, all the foundational wisdom that you need to accelerate your health and accelerate your life. Here we go. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Human Handbook Podcast. And we got a super exciting episode today. It's probably the most important episode ever as we start to move forward and dive deeper into our journey into this method, this system of healing that is timeless. This is as old as the hills, my friends. And we're going to unpack it a little bit more and take a little bit of a deeper dive. Today's episode is entitled Food is Medicine. And that's what we're going to talk about. This is one of the most important things. It's the most important topic as we start to move into the realm of application. Means we've touched and kind of covered some of the foundational philosophies of the method. And now we're moving into the practical part of it, the rubber meets the road part, the part where it's like, okay, here we go for real. Now, food is medicine. This is definitely our primary determinant of health, which we've introduced our determinants of health, the clean air, the clean food, the clean water. The food is the biggie, guys. I mean, this is obvious. Think about it. Every single day, we are ingesting and putting substances into our bodies, and we have to make sure that the digestive apparatus, the digestive system, and by digestion, I mean the whole entire process of digestion, absorption, assimilation, elimination, all of this has to be happening. And if there's an issue with the food, if we're eating foods that are not agreeing with our body, we might not have the capacity to properly digest those foods. We might be, if we're consuming foods on a regular basis that have no life force, these kinds of things will catch up with us. Now, this is the kind of thing, the body is amazing, and you can live a certain sort of a lifestyle, and eventually over some time that will catch up with us. And I think the times that we're living in, again, this is pretty new. This is a new thing. A lot of these are new issues that we're talking about because 100 years ago, 150 years ago, there was only organic food. There weren't tons of pesticides and tons of variety of fast foods and prepared foods and packaged foods and plastic foods, all branded out and marketed to us, and to our detriment. There is a story behind that, sure, the sugar lobby and all of those things, but we got to take responsibility for this, and that's part of that is part of my message, and that is built into my method here, which I'm revealing the bones to my method of how this works. Again, we've said before, there's no magic supplements, there's no magic remedies, there's no quick fixes. This is the slow and the steady game. This is the long game. This is what we got to double down on. These are the everyday determinants of health, and we got to get this dialed in. We want a personalized, individualized diet, and we want to be making sure that we're eating food that actually nourishes us and supercharges our biology and optimizes our energy for clarity, for concentration, for creativity, for endurance and stamina. All of these things we need to have dialed in. So food's the medicine, 100%. This is something that if you're listening to this pod, I'm probably preaching to the choir. But in the dominant school of medicine, you can still ask your GP or ask, even specialists, even GIMDs a lot of times. And diet has nothing to do with your health condition, folks. You just need to take the pharma and, it's just going to be like this. This is just how it is. Doesn't matter if you change your diet. Doesn't matter if you eat plants or animals or plastic or whatever. That's the line that they're still selling out there. And that is the line that a lot of people are still buying. There's just look around, go into the grocery store and just take a look at what's in everybody's cart, right? It's a bunch of high fructose corn syrup and plastic, basically. And that's not going to optimize you. That is not going to optimize the biology. The biology is not going to recognize that. It's going to create issues. So these kinds of things we got to be aware of. I mean, I'm making the extreme example, but again, it sounds extreme and it sounds totally insane to me that someone could say that therapeutic dietary interventions cannot affect the state of one's overall health or shift a pathology in a favorable direction or heal a gastrointestinal condition, that that defies common sense. Common sense even tells us that, hey, that doesn't make sense. Let's look closer at this. So this is something that I look at with everybody when they come on board. One of the first things that I do, pretty much on day one, is we got to get a food intolerance sample. And because that is going to be, for me, how I personalize an individualized diet. And by that, I mean, I need to identify what foods you are not able to properly digest. Now, constitutionally, enzymatically, genetically, all have an individualized, we all need an individualized diet, and this is part of what I call personalized medicine. Is identifying this, and again, this kind of uh, leads, our principles lead us into thinking like this, because this is part of the first thing that we start to do. We start to identify and remove obstacles to cure. And this is really where we start, because again, we're looking at those things, those everyday determinants of health, and the food and those things that are coming into the system every single day. That's where we need to start and look. And that's like a really, really, really big deal. If we want to move the needle, if we want to, certainly if there's pathology happening, if there is a disease process already happening, if you have any kind of issues with certainly digestion or endocrine issues, thyroid issues are very, very common and intimately linked to the digestive process. Of course, any metabolic conditions, any blood sugar dysregulation, any kind of pre-diabetes, all of these things, they are giving us some kind of a sign. They're just the clues. Again, the symptoms the body's giving us, that's not what we necessarily are seeking, certainly not in my method, to seek and destroy the symptom. We're looking at those signs and those symptoms that the body is revealing to us. Those are our signposts. Those are our guiding symptoms to the pointing. And they're pointing somewhere, and they're pointing deeper into the economy of the system. And that's what I'm interested in, is looking 1, 2, 3 levels deeper and attempting to identify and remove and resolve at that foundational level, so that we can bring resolution to whatever the symptom is at that foundational level. And that's what the foundational method here is all about. And this is a huge part of it. The food is the principle and the primary intervention. It is the primary medicine. It is the it is the first thing that we have to tidy up again, regardless of what state the health is in, not whether there are symptoms present, or if you are in the domain of prevention, which is the ideal place to be in prevention, and then moving from prevention into the space of optimization. That's really where that's the ideal space that we want to go. So if we can get ahead of things and get on top of things, and again, the earlier we can learn about these things, again, these are the things that nobody's telling us. These are the things that we need to know about, that nobody taught us about growing up. Nobody taught us about how our digestion is intimately connected with our energy and our mind and our mood and every single other part of our body. The digestion is the command center. It is the command center. If there is an issue, again, digestive issues, hormonal issues, thyroid issues, endocrine issues, if there are hormonal issues or something going on where there seem to be a hormonal contribution, if there are menstrual symptoms or any of these things, or certainly more progressed symptoms like autoimmune symptoms, then that tells us certainly that we need to get in immediately and personalize and individualize and really dial in. This food is medicine, and this is an individualized, personalized thing. There's no cookie cutter diet out there. Diets come and go, trends come and go. Plant-based, animal-based, keto, bulletproof, any kind, vegan, Atkins, all of the diets that come and go. There's going to be trends that come and go, and especially now in this era of social media, everybody is talking about it, food and things like this. And a lot of there is a lot of good information out there. And there's a lot of people sharing a lot of really good information, but we got to keep in mind and we got to remember that there's no perfect diet, that there is no one size fits all diet. The diet that is perfect for one person can be completely detrimental to another person, and I can share some case examples of that in a few minutes. Some examples of that. But the personalized diet, this diet, and it's not static. Food is medicine and therapeutic diet for a given individual in their life. That's gonna change. It's dynamic, means it's always evolving itself. It's always changing. It's not static. It doesn't just, you don't just figure out your magic diet one day and then boom, that's it. You may hit a point where it seems like that, but give it 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, your needs are going to change, and this is even through the course of a week. Your needs may change, and certainly through the seasons of the year, we will, we need to be eating with the seasons and trying to sync our biorhythms and finding things that are fresh, seasonable, available, organic, loaded with nutrients. And that's going to change for one individual over the course of a year. And then certainly over the course of the seasons of our lives, the dietary and nutritional needs, that you need as a 15-year-old are very different than what you need as a 40-year-old, are a little different than what you're going to need as a 70-year-old. And we got to be able to be flexible and adaptable with our diet. I think this is a really, really good thing to emphasize here, because there is a lot of dietary extremism out there. There's a lot of people that are talking and preaching on one specific dietary method or some particular style that they have found to be tremendously beneficial for them, and I celebrate that, because that means that person has taken that time and developed their sensitivity and had the self-awareness, and they've got the discipline and to apply that and figure that out and get themselves better from, mental illness, from anxieties and depressions, or from skin conditions, and then, the natural thing to do, it's a natural human thing to want to do, is to then, when you find something that you feel has, magical powers, like a therapeutic diet that has healed your mind or healed your skin or healed your gut and transformed your life, humans naturally want to help people, and they want to, shout that from the mountaintop and bring that good news and that good word. And that's all good. I 1000% celebrate that. All I'm saying is, let's keep in mind that there is no perfect diet. There is no blanket perfect diet that's going to just nestle perfectly in with the human species, and everybody's got that, and we can all just plug and play this magical diet. It doesn't work like that. We need to personalize, individualize these, and this is the main thing that we need to be doing to get the proper information into our body, to get the proper minerals and the nutrients into our body. And again, the digestion, this is the command center. This is where it's all happening, is gut and liver. And this has directly to do, again, the process of digestion, absorption, assimilation. The food is the primary medicine. So taking the food in, high level, we didn't say this early on, but certainly this is early on in this food is medicine conversation. And we have to say that we have to be eating organic food. You have to be eating organic food these days. Otherwise, you're eating a pesticide, just a chemical cocktail, and the biology does not know what to do with that. And these things, even organic foods, guys, the reality is that they're not pesticide free. There's cross contaminations. Especially from the large scale agriculture companies that are growing conventional food, and then they grow the organic stuff alongside it, or where the farms are adjacent, and the one farm that you're buying from is organic and doing everything right, but the farmer next to him, in that field next to him, they're spraying heavily. And what do you think happens to all that? And in transport, these things, we want to try to be eating as fresh, as organic, as locally harvested as possible. And this goes for plant-based or animal-based. I'm not going to take the detour and do the compare and contrast on plant-based, animal-based in this episode. I think that's possibly a whole episode on its own. You guys let me know, your thoughts on that in the comments and stuff like that. Give me some feedback. If you guys want to unpack that, we will. But this, I want to touch, and enter this conversation. I think there's going to be several parts to this food as medicine, because this is the eternal conversation. This is the conversation that you can have like every single day, and there's always a little bit of a new angle to kind of look at it. But again, probably if you're listening to this pod and you find your way here, you've at least, you might be preaching to the choir, but you have to be eating organic food. And even if we are having organic food, there's still some level of contamination that's coming in from the cross contamination. And then at that, we want to try to be sourcing our food locally. And so we can maintain, there's a few things here to say, and even with the organic food, we eat the organic food really just to avoid the pesticides. Even at that, organic food is basically nutrient deficient still. It's just devoid, they don't have all the chemicals in it. Now, is this going to vary from farm to farm and things like that? Yeah, it's going to vary from farm to farm. So this individualized thing, you need to look and source out, where's the food coming from, and then see if you can trace it back to the source, to the farm, and get the answers, and you can see. But one of the main things that we know, vitamin and mineral content in conventionally grown food is just completely devoid of any nutrients. And even in organic food, this is a big problem. So this again is what in my method, I think that it is essential that you have to somehow bring in the minerals, which are the frequencies of light that are going to inform the biology and charge the system up. We got to get those minerals in there. So the ideal way to be getting that in is from someone that is growing mineralized food, so we can get those angstrom-sized minerals taken up and fixed in the plants. And then that's how the biology is going to really, really recognize that. Does that happen on the plant-based side and the animal-based side? Yeah, there's minerals there. Welcome to Earth. We want to make sure that we're getting those minerals in, because the minerals are the frequencies of light. And this is a big, big part of the food is medicine conversation. Because the minerals are one of the main things, the main nutrients, kind of I don't know if you could say a function of eating, or one of the things that really, really has to be eating. We got to be getting the minerals, which are the frequencies of light. And by that, I mean the minerals that are entering into the system. We need those minerals because every cell in our body, we need to get those properly sized minerals into the cells. And we need to make sure that if we want all of our organs and our glands to be functioning properly, then we need to make sure that we're mineralized. And the ideal way to be doing this in the perfect world is to have mineralized food, which is going to be, there's different ways you can do that. There's many different ways, the sea salt mixtures, the rock, the basically crushed rock kind of compound, put in the soil. There's different methods that people will use, and this is a part of the regenerative agriculture conversation. And this is part of like really being steward of the earth and remineralizing that soil, because if a soil is used and not properly rotated and not properly nurtured, and even if it begins out mineralized, in about 10 to 12 years, those minerals are going to be exhausted, and that food is basically going to be dead. It's going to grow, but it's not going to be super vital food that we really want. And I think anybody, this affects the taste of the food also. Anybody that can think back over the years, the foods and the fruits, they don't taste quite like they did once upon a time. And again, that's due to the scale of the agriculture, and that's even the organic food, guys. So we got to be really, really conscious of this. So if we can move, and this is the big thing, especially these days with food prices going up, and having to transport food from the West Coast to the East Coast, and gas prices, inflation, food prices, the whole thing. We got the answer. The long-term answer, the short-term answer, and the long-term answer is to bring it back small, take it back local, find your local people, see if you can find some local farm where you can locally source some good, clean, mineral-rich, organic food that is really going to nourish your body and really, really, really be your daily medicine. And another part of that is having the fresh local food. There's another thing that I don't hear people talk about too much. I did years ago, but from my background and some of the people I've worked with, we have always known about the bio-photon energy, the light energy that is in the food. So this is something that is not necessarily measurable. There are some studies and stuff that show how you can actually measure this biophoton light. It's really interesting, but the body is ingesting this. We can't point to a pathway where a biophoton enters and we ingest that light energy, but we know that we are beings of light. We are beings of light, and that's what I mean by the minerals being the frequencies of light, and the biophotons and eating that light energy, eating the sun. that's what we're doing here, guys. Welcome to Earth. We got to have this vitality. This is part of stimulating the vital force and taking in this energy so that our body can be charged and our cells can be charged. And this is one of the areas where I think that it will be a couple more years before the science, the measurable science, actually kind of catches up to this and gives us a good sort of good, I don't know if there's going to be a pathway or a mechanism or some sort of a demonstration of how this works so people can understand that we truly are beings of light, and that at a really core foundational level, we're eating the sun. And that's what the plants are doing. They're fixing that sunlight, that pure sunlight, and then through the process of the photosynthesis, they're taking that and exploding that sunlight internally into glucose, into energy, and then taking up all those minerals from the earth. And then that's the exchange. That's the exchange that we have. So these are some foundational things that we need to be thinking about. One food, um, one man's nourishment is another man's poison, and we need to keep this in mind. And this is one of the things that we really need to double down on and do a check before you move forward in any other arena, especially if you have some sort of disease process going on, or if you have some kind of symptoms going on. Before you go looking for what's the supplement that's gonna be best for you, what's the vitamin, mineral, herb, or whatever the latest kind of thing on Instagram or social is, or whatever the top fad supplement of the week or the month or the year is. Before we even get into any of that conversation, remember, part of our method here is we want to keep things simple and then move to the complex. And keeping things simple means starting with the things that we can that we're in control of. And this is one of those things. So it takes a lot of self-responsibility. This is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a work in progress. There is no end. And so we just buckle up and enjoy the ride, and we learn along the way. And we need to remember that we want to maintain a flexibility and an adaptability in regards to what is our personalized diet and what is a therapeutic diet for us at any given time. Because different people need different nutrition requirements. I have, for example, some of the sickest people that I've had come in, and I didn't see this for several years, but I have had several this year, and so I learned a lot from working with these cases, and some of these cases have really come a long way, and some of them are actually kind of in the middle of doing this work right now. And this example of a person that might be fruit intolerant, that can sound crazy. What do you mean fruit intolerant? Like they don't digest fruit? But that's a real thing. And if you don't know that, then that is a really good example of one person's medicine is another man's poison. And this goes for identifying what foods don't digest. So we need to know what foods we're not digesting, because if we have one of these food intolerances or some type of a food that we cannot digest, we need to know that, because we're affecting our command center and we're compromising that command center, and it's going to be a drain on the system. And the body is amazing. It is vital. And it will find a way to kind of regulate that and balance that as long as it can. But if that challenge, if that food is on board and it's not acting like a medicine in the system, it's going to be acting like a poison, and eventually it's going to catch up. And so we're going to have to address that, and we're going to have to go down to the ground level and address the digestive apparatus, the digestion, the absorption, the assimilation. Digestion is the command center, and a personalized, individualized therapeutic diet is key to making this happen. And everybody's got a unique situation. So, again, staying flexible and open-minded, and being open to change and never getting too rigid in any of our thinking or in any of our methods or any of the things that are working for us. And this is for practitioners, for doctors. And if you're just interested in your health and you're on the journey, this kind of goes for all of us. I'm not above this. I'm right in it with you. Welcome to Earth. We're all here. We're all in it together. Then the goal is to share with one another and try to elevate one another and find the common ground here, and then learn along the way so we can hopefully accelerate all our journeys, and so we can hopefully, everybody can, the goal is to be happy and healthy and vital and vibrant and adaptable. Food is your medicine. This is the foundation where it begins. This is how we make it happen. So that's the download for today, guys. I hope you guys found this informative. Leave me questions, comments. If you need clarifications on this, we're definitely going to talk about this some more. But that's the download for now. You guys have a great day. We'll pick it up here next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Human Handbook Podcast. My name is Dr. Adam Tice. You guys have a great day. Thank you so much for being here. And be sure to tune in next week, where we're going to be talking more about everything you need to know, but nobody's telling you about how to optimize your health, cultivate happiness, and biohack your way to peak performance. Adios for now, guys.